Thank you, Leotxo, and thank you to Judit Polgar and her organization for the opportunity to participate in this summit. I'm talking today about the power of story in decision-making. Now, we already know that stories can help in teaching, whether it's chess or any other subject. And we naturally relate to good stories. And during this summit, you've already heard, and you'll continue to hear, stories of how chess has impacted the lives of people in a lot of various fields of endeavor. So, what's your story? Why do you do what you do? I often tell the story of Albert, who was a kindergartner in my wife's class. And on a good day, Albert had like a minute and a half worth of focus. And one day he was staying after school, which he had to do on a regular basis because he didn't get his work done during the day. And so on this particular day, I'm teaching chess in her classroom because I'm the chess club sponsor for the school at that time. And so Albert keeps looking at the chess kids. And my wife says, Albert, do you want to play chess? And yes. And he'd never played before. And he said, well, you have to get your work done. Oh, he gets his work done. So now, best work he's done so far this year. So now he goes over. Now he's playing chess. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, absolutely focused. My wife goes down the hallway and gets other teachers from first floor to come and look in the door. And they're in shock. This is Albert. They're in disbelief. How can this person? Because they know it's one of those kind of communities where everybody knows everybody, and they knew Albert's dad, they knew Albert's granddad, and Albert was sort of, in some ways, already written off. We know what Albert's going to do and be, but now he's playing chess. So Albert walks down the hall. Albert, I hear you play chess. You must be smart. Well, trust me, he hadn't been accused of that. What happened was, Albert playing chess changed what they believed was possible for him, and it also changed his own perspective about himself. Now, why do I tell that story? Because my audiences can relate at very many levels, whether they have children like that, whether they see children in the education system like that, or whether those children grow up to be their employees and they wish they had better critical thinking skills. So I tell that story on a regular basis because audiences can relate at so many levels to that. Now, the Chess and Education Commission for FIDE has as one of its goals to help national federations implement scalable and sustainable chess and education initiatives. So this year I've had the opportunity to be in a variety of countries helping to support their efforts. I want to talk about 3 particular countries, and I want to talk about them as examples of federations implementing chess and education initiatives and how the education and the business, the larger community, has responded to that effort. So I was in India several months ago, was in 6 different cities, in 6 states, in about 8 days, a whirlwind journey, but in every location I was introducing the idea of chess and education. Now, obviously, if you know anything about chess, you know that chess is extremely popular in India. So, not a problem there, but they were not familiar with chess and education, so we made presentations. In one city I said, so how many teachers do you need to have trained? They said, oh, at least 10,000. So the response was overwhelmingly positive. In Zimbabwe, we were training teachers in Harare, but even in the bush, when we went to places like that, we were involved in meeting potential sponsors. So, whether it's in India or in Zimbabwe, later then we were in Nigeria, in Lagos, training teachers, and we met with Sterling Bank leadership, and they became sponsors of chess and education. Now, when making the case for chess and education, we often start with the facts. Chess is an educational tool. Chess can be the vehicle to teach academic and 21st century skills. And yes, we should include that because the evidence is there. We hear from teachers all the time about the difference that chess makes in their classroom, and these are powerful stories. But if we want to address stakeholders, if we want to address educators, government leaders, business community, we have to do more than just talk about the facts. We need to tell the stories because they need to become part of the story, and not just become part of the story, but become heroes of the story. So how do they become heroes of this story? Well, what was our message? In all of these countries, we talked about when you reach a child, you change the family. You change enough families, you change a community. You change enough communities, and you've changed a country. So why did these federations make the decision to implement chess in education? Because they realized that chess in education could change their story. Because when a federation is seen to be a partner in education, then they have access to human and financial resources that they wouldn't normally have. They also saw chess in education as a source of significant growth for membership in their federation, and they also saw that changing the lives of children helped them to fulfill their mission, which was to make a difference in society. So why did the stakeholders in these countries come on board? Because they saw themselves as the heroes in the story, that we can come along and we can also make that difference in the lives of these children and impact the future of our country. Stories are powerful. They help create a vision. They shape the vision of what could be. They help provide a connection to what's happening, and they provide inspiration, because at the end of the day, people make decisions not just based on their intellect, not just on their minds, but on their hearts. They need to have a personal connection. They need to see that they can become a part of the story. So we always follow the story with a call to action, because you are asking them to join you in the activity of changing lives. You have a story to tell. As you tell your story, remember your audience, that you're asking them to join you in changing lives, because together we can change these lives. Together we make a difference. We're all part of a larger story that matters. You have your stories as well. Tell your story. Make your story count. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I hope that you'll continue to tell your stories.
Thank you very much, Jerry. I'm always learning a lot from you. In this case, not only about educational chess, but also about traveling, which is my second passion, and I think it's also the best school of life, right?
It is, it is.
Let's start by a question which is very critical in order to, I don't know if I have to say destroy or some misunderstandings, big misunderstandings spread all over the world. How does chess in education differ from competitive chess in gaining support from stakeholders?
Okay, so often I will hear federation leaders tell me, we've asked for sponsors to support our tournaments, and we're just not getting much. And I can understand why. Because from their perspective, you have a limited group that often they don't understand what's actually happening. They don't understand the results coming out of it, but they see a limited footprint. From a chess and education perspective, if you're supporting teachers and you're supporting children, now maybe hundreds or thousands of teachers who are impacting now tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of children. That's a much larger footprint. Plus, there's also the idea, what skills are they gaining from this activity? How is that relevant to me as a sponsor? Well, when we talk about, here are the skills that you want to hire.
The list is very long.
Exactly. And that usually takes a little bit, because and then they're thinking, wait, yes, these are all the skills I want to hire. Well, exactly. You're preparing your future workforce while doing all these wonderful things. So then the Federation realizes, oh, we are now seen as a partner in education, and now that sponsor realizes that, yes, when I'm sponsoring this tournament and sponsoring this other, I'm making that kind of footprint.
And what are some key factors in building a sustainable chess in education initiative?
In the past, we've often seen the goal is, okay, we've trained some teachers, great. But that's really just the start. In fact, it should be sort of the midpoint, because key factors for a scalable, sustainable solution is you have to create an infrastructure. After you've trained the teachers, what resources do they have? How are you going to stay in touch? What happens when they have issues or struggles or need something else? Who do they talk to? You need to have a system of communication, so you're providing this infrastructure so that the teachers realize we're not in this on our own.
You mentioned communication. I'm extremely sensitive to that because I am a professional of communication.
Yes.
Therefore, how should federations, I mean, FIDE, continental, national federations, everybody communicate stories, you mentioned stories, effectively to build support?
So for one thing, we have to think about our audience, because often we want to tell the story in a way that frames us as the heroes. Well, we may be heroes and we may be doing a great job, but from the stakeholder standpoint, I haven't really moved them to participate. I have to tell the story from a perspective that draws them in so that they realize I can be the hero in this story. And if I'm the hero, what will I be able to make a difference doing? And so one is how you tell the story. Who's your audience? Because you can tell the same story from different perspectives. So what is it that they need? In most cases, there are multiple audiences, so you have to tell the same story a variety of ways. So that takes a nuanced approach to how you tell that story, and then in what medium. Because depending on the age group, they're not on TikTok, they're not on Facebook. You know, they may be in some other medium, and you have to understand what is that medium and how do we reach them. Because I don't know many educators that change public policy because of a video that they saw on TikTok. They don't do that. So in what other mediums do you need to reach them where they're not coming to your neck of the woods, as we would say? You're going to where they live and helping them to understand how this story is a part of what they really want to achieve.
Jerry Nash, chairman of FIDE's Education Commission, thanks a lot, and please keep fighting because we need more people like you in the chess world.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. And we also need high-level officials who are convinced that the best way to promote chess as a sport is to introduce it massively in the curriculum, or at least as an educational tool. I believe that our next guest, Surab Asmaiparashvili, president of the European Chess Union, is convinced on this. But we are going to check it out right away because I'm going to interview him in just 1 minute.